Russia did send two 160 strategic bombers to Venezuela once, in December 2018. That deployment was real, it was public, and it set off a wave of alarm in Washington. What's not confirmed is that Russia is doing the same thing now. Recently, a handful of outlets and social posts have suggested Moscow may again be preparing to forward deploy two 160s, nuclear-capable White Swan bombers, to Caracas. But as of right now, there is no verified evidence of a new deployment. So this story sits between two poles, a proven 2018 precedent, and a set of fresh claims that remain unproven. That split, past fact and present rumor, is the headline. Today we'll explain what actually happened, why the idea keeps resurfacing, and what it would mean for U.S. security, Venezuelan survival, and global stability if Moscow repeated the stunt. Let's start with what we know. In December 2018, Russia announced that it had flown two 160 strategic bombers to Venezuela for joint exercises and military cooperation. The flight was highly publicized. Planes flew from Russia to the Caribbean, landed near Caracas, and Russian crews conducted joint drills with Venezuelan forces. The move was explicitly political, a show of support for President Nicolas Maduro and a message to the United States that Russia could project power into the Western Hemisphere. Why did people panic? Because the Tu-160 is not a transport plane. It's a supersonic strategic bomber, one of the few aircraft in the world capable of delivering long-range cruise missiles and nuclear weapons. Even when unarmed, its presence near U.S. shores is an unmistakable signal. In 2018, the White House publicly criticized the flights, calling them escalatory and dangerous for regional stability. So the precedent exists. Russia has the technical ability and the political will to move strategic aircraft long distances to the Americas as a symbol. That fact is important, and it's why new rumors about two 160s in Venezuela get attention faster than normal. Over the last weeks, several online outlets and social posts have suggested Russia plans to send two 160s to Venezuela again, allegedly to bolster Caracas's air defenses amid U.S. pressure and talk of regime change. Some versions of the claim even tie this rumor to U.S. political rhetoric, that American pressure or covert moves could push Moscow to respond. Here's the key. Those new claims are not confirmed by independent, verifiable sources. As of this recording, there is no verified satellite imagery showing two 160s on Venezuelan airfields, no official Russian or Venezuelan press release announcing a new deployment, and no credible reporting from established international agencies confirming a fresh transfer. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means we must be cautious, treat the rumor as a potentially explosive signal, but separate it from proven fact. Responsible analysis starts with noting that line. Even as a rumor, the idea makes strategic sense for Moscow. There are three reasons Russia might send long-range bombers to Venezuela again. 1. Deterrence and signaling. Placing strategic assets in the Western Hemisphere is a geopolitical message. We can reach your backyard. It's a mirror image of Cold War geometry, a way to signal to the United States that Russian security concerns are global, not local. 2. Support for an ally. Venezuela is a long-standing partner of Russia. If Moscow fears that pressure on Maduro could lead to a U.S.-backed regime change, it can respond by escalating the visible military presence, to protect its investments, to deter intervention, and to shore up the political legitimacy of its client. 3. Leverage in negotiations. Deployments are bargaining chips. When tensions rise, trade, sanctions, or diplomatic conflict, Moscow can train or forward deploy forces to increase its bargaining weight at the negotiating table. All three motives are classic strategic behavior. They're not evidence that nuclear weapons will be used or that war is imminent. They are, however, why such deployments have an outsized political effect. Moving two 160s thousands of miles is feasible. Russia proved that in 2018, but it's not trivial. Long-range flights require tanker support, overflight permissions, or circuitous routing, maintenance crews, and secure basing. You can't just park a strategic bomber on a civilian tarmac for months without infrastructure and political risk. For Moscow, that means a deployment would be carefully planned, deliberate, and inherently public. It would need a diplomatic cover story, exercises, humanitarian cooperation, training, and it would invite immediate scrutiny from Western intelligence, satellites, AWACS, and maritime patrols. In short, if it happens, the world would likely know fast. That's why verified confirmation matters. Rumors tend to rush ahead of the logistics. If Russia were to base two 160s in Venezuela again, the effects would ripple across several areas. U.S. domestic politics. Any forward deployment of Russian strategic assets near American shores would become a headline crisis. Congressional pressure for an official response would be swift, ranging from sanctions to increased patrols in the Caribbean. NATO and hemisphere security. Latin American governments would face a hard choice: condemn Russia and risk Moscow's ire, or stay silent and risk appearing complicit. Regional institutions like the OAS would be thrust into the center of diplomatic scramble. Escalation risk. Deploying nuclear-capable delivery systems close to a geopolitical rival raises risks of miscalculation. Even if both sides pledge restraint, proximity increases the chance that an accident, an interception, or a misinterpreted exercise could spark crisis management scenarios. Domestic impact in Venezuela. Moscow's presence would bolster Maduro's immediate security, but it could also deepen Venezuela's isolation. Economic aid from Western countries would tighten, and the country could become an even deeper client of Russia, militarily and economically. One thing to watch: information warfare. Claims of a new Tu-160 deployment may serve political goals regardless of their truth. Moscow has long used high-profile military moves to shape narratives. Washington and Venezuelan opposition actors have also used leaks and rhetoric to pressure rivals. Social media accelerates this. An unverified claim can go viral and force real diplomatic moves simply by changing perceptions. So you must ask, who benefits from amplifying this rumor? Who loses if the rumor takes hold? Analyzing motives helps separate likely facts from likely political theater. If you want the blunt scenarios, here are the three that matter. 1. Nothing new, just noise. The rumor dies, analysts move on, and the story is another example of how quickly strategic narratives spread online. 2. A symbolic deployment. Russia replays the 2018 template, a short deployment of a few aircraft for exercises and headlines, aimed at signaling but not at permanent basing. This would force a diplomatic scramble, but likely stop short of military clash. 3. A real basing move. Moscow decides to establish a longer presence, basing, maintenance, and a stronger political commitment. That's the riskiest scenario. Higher long-term influence for Russia, higher diplomatic cost for Venezuela, and greater friction with the U.S. Here's the honest conclusion. There is a real historical precedent for Tu-160s in Venezuela. We saw it in 2018, and that precedent makes rumors in 2025 plausible enough to watch. But there is no verified proof right now of a new deployment. Until independent intelligence, satellite images, or official statements confirm it, treat it as strategic noise amplified by politics. What matters most is the signal beneath the rumor. Russia and Venezuela remain close. The Western Hemisphere is still a space for geopolitical competition, and in an era of fast social media rumor and high-stakes diplomacy, unverified claims can become facts by forcing responses. If you like this breakdown, please like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell. I bring these deep dives that cut through rumor and show you what's real. Drop a comment. If Moscow did base strategic bombers in the Caribbean again, would it deter U.S. action or only guarantee more confrontation? Which scenario scares you most, and why?